Hello guys, Sue Jerry speaking. Welcome to Bedtime Stories, episode number 347. Today read you we'll go book biography about Julie Andrews. So let's read it now, shall we? So we got for us. This is written by Christy Webster, illustrated by Sue Collinston. Then it was published by, let's just say, Will Go Book New York release. Copyright 2023. All rights reserved. Seen here is her picture with Mary Poppins from 1964. Here we go. Julie Andrews was born Julia Elizabeth Wales on October 1st, 1945, in a village called Walton-on-Thames in England. She grew up in a talented family. Okay. When she was a little girl, her aunt would help put up shows at the nearby playhouse. Kind of made a Playhouse Disney difference, if you ask me. Julie's mother would play piano, and her father built sets. Okay, Julie set up gave her her first performance show, very first performance. Excuse me, okay. At one of these shows. She helped a fellow dancer who's had a fallen over her own eyes. At the age of 3, Julie knew that the shows must go on. It kind of reminds me of this song by Queen, you know. It's trying to make more sense anyway, so there you go on that. Next page. Anyway. When young Julie was 4 years old, World War II began. From this point forward, Julie was living with her mother and stepfather in London when bombs were often fell. To stay safe, Julie and brother sometimes had to go to the countryside and live with strangers. Okay? While there, they loved learning to ride horses. Other times, her family hid in the London Underground train station. When their neighbors, her stepfather would play guitar to take people's minds off of danger. I especially agree with that, even though it's World War II and had to do something about it. So there you go on that. Had to do something about this whole war dangers. Next page. Anyway. Meanwhile, Julia was learning to dance and sing, so she went to a special school where she learned ballet, tap dance. At the age of 9, she started taking singing lessons. Julie's mother was a wonderful piano player, and her stepfather was a well-known singer. They started to invite Julie on stage to sing with them. Julie enjoyed the spotlight. Exactly. Not long after the war, they finally ended. Julie was asked to perform with some British soldiers. She didn't know that Queen Elizabeth II will also be in the audience. Exactly. The Queen told Julie that she sang beautifully. And I had to do something about this for the late Queen. You know, I had to do something about it. So, there you go on that. So, she was Ben Princess at the time, but, you know, that's just me, of course. Next page. Anyway. Julie became known for her sweet, high voice. She spent her teenage years traveling around England, singing and dancing in shows. She loved to sit stage, but she missed her family when she was away. Wow. So that made more sense. Whenever she was homesick, Julie would go in her dressing room and read books to help her feel less lonely. You know, Julie was all there, and at the time, like, make Julie Andrews make more difference back in the old days. So, was she was lonely? Yes, but at the time, yes, it was there. I've been very lonely as well back then at the time, so there you go. Next page. When Julie was 16 years old, she wanted to see a musical at the West End of London, where some of the best plays in the world are performed. Julie was amazed. The music, the costumes, the sets, she never thought she would have the chance to be in a show like that. But she would. And soon, just 2 years later, Julie was cast as a star of Cinderella on the West End. There was a fancy costumes and a big moving set. And real ponies on the stage. Wow. Julie in the show got great reviews. Thanks to the success of Cinderella, makes more sense anyway, Julie got her next big break, a role in the Broadway musical called The Boyfriend. Julie wasn't going to New York, which had to make more sense, but it had to make more difference in any way, so there you go or not. So there you go. Next page. Anyway, Julie was sad to leave, but she couldn't say no to Broadway. Her family gathered at the airport and see her off. While rehearsing in New York, Julie struggled at first. Sometimes she felt she was doing a good job, and other times she didn't. The director told her to play in the role as honesty as she could. On opening night, the audience gave the show a standing obligation. The cast and crew waited overnight at the nearby restaurant to read the reviews in the next morning's newspaper. The critics loved the show, and Julie, it was official. Julie Andrews was a Broadway star. It all makes sense now in any way, even though it's a great opportunity for her to leave. And everybody loved Julie Andrews. It had to make more sense in any way. Next page. Anyway, later that year, a songwriting duo named Lerner and Lowell were envisioning their newest musical. They didn't think Julie would be available to star in it because most Broadway actors would have 2-year contracts. But Julie had only a 1-year contract for her first show so that she could visit her family sooner. After a quick trip to England, Julie went back to New York to star in My Fair Lady. Julie played a flower seller named Alyssa Doolittle, who learned to speak to the like a fancy lady. Exactly. Just like Alyssa, Julie had to learn to speak in a new accent. It was very difficult. It was hard work. If hard work paid off. My Fair Lady became the longest running Broadway musical at the time, and the cast recording was the #1 album of 1956. This all makes sense for Julie Andrews, so there you go. How to make more difference in any way. So there you go. Just how to make more difference in Julie Andrews, so how to make more difference in that. Next page. Anyway, Julie continued to act, sing, and hit musicals. One day, Walt Disney, the late Walt Disney that is, and it started in the 1960s, visited her backstage after the show, and we wanted her to star in the next movie. Julie had performed on Broadway in the famous Carnegie Hall and on television, but never in movies. So that's a good thing. By then, Julie had gotten married, but not long after giving birth to her first daughter. Julie and her family flew to Hollywood, California, so Julie could star in Walt Disney's Mary Poppins. So that's a great idea, by the way, Walt. But anyway, Julie won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance as the Magical Nanny, and fans everywhere learned the word I haven't even pronounced this word. Anyway, fragilisticexpialidocious. That makes more sense. So, there you go. And that makes more sense with the song, and makes more sense with supercalifragisticexpialidocious. And it's a long word, to be honest. So, there you go. Next page. Anyway. Now, in 1965, just 1 year after Mary Poppins was released, Julia started to Sound of Music, which I had never seen yet. But anyway, which I got on 4K on Blu-ray, never on 4K Blu-ray yet. We'll see what happens. But anyway, in this movie musical, Julie played a nun in training named Maria, who falls in love with looking after 7 children in the Australian mountains. It became one of her most famous roles, thanks to such songs as My Fair Things and Do I May. Okay. Julie spent the next 20 years starring in movies. She also welcomed 4 more children in her life. One day, Julie's stepdaughter, Jenny, asked her to write her story for her. That was when Julie came up, the idea with her first children's book. She would go on to write and publish many more. Now, at the time, yes, Julie Andrews' Sound of Music, I have never seen that movie, but it's over 3 hours long. The song's called The Hills Alive, was one of the best songs I've ever seen in that movie. But it was one of those properties I've seen on NBC and another station I've seen called CBS, but never heard of it on other channels like that. But, you know, that's just me. But it was on the air several times, but, yeah, I don't know. But I got it on Blu-ray, never on DVD, never on VHS. So I have to figure this out for myself. We're almost done here. Next page. 35 years after leaving New York to make Mary Poppins, Julie finally decided to return to Broadway. She brought role for the movie musical Victor/Victoria to the stage. Julie worked hard, as hard as ever on this show. It was a big success. That's good. Over the years, Julie sometimes found that her voice got very tired. Now, at the time, yes, I saw her when I was a kid, I saw her in 2 different movies based on The Princess Diaries, and it was starring Anne Hathaway and her, featuring the late Regis Philbin, the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, in the sequel. But I think the most important thing about the sequel is that he was in the epilogue in this post-credit scene, in the closing credit scene here, saying these words. I'm not gonna say what it is. You'll find out in the sequel for yourself. But I've seen the first movie, but bits and pieces. Never the second. I've seen bits of the second movie. That was it. That was basically it. But anyway, especially after singing in the Broadway show for many months in a row, she had to take her own rest, doing special exercises, and eventually had surgery to keep her voice healthy. Thank you. But at one point, something went wrong. Okay? After her most recent surgery, she found that she couldn't sing at all. I was about worried for Julie Andrews, you know? At the time, she was in not only Princess Diaries, but also, at the time, yes, she was in some movies back then. And she was a great actress when she was not in singing back then. So, when I was a kid, she was in Princess Diaries with Anne Hathaway, like I mentioned before. But that was great, and now she's doing some other things besides from Julie Andrews actresses. So, there you go. Next page. Julie was sad. She loved to sing. But about 50 years has passed since she had been read alone in the dressing room. She knew books could still bring comfort at a difficult time. With the help of her daughter Emma Andrews, that is, Julie wrote and published many more children's books and books about her own life. Yup, exactly. Julie stayed busy. She helped others, spent time with her family, kept starring in films. She played a queen in Princess Diary movies, which I mentioned before. And another queen in the Shrek movies, which I've never seen. I haven't mentioned it yet. But it was great movies, by the way, bits and pieces. But anyway. Well, she was, at the time, yes, the third movies I like the best. Especially the second and the fourth. The sequel was, by the way. But she said it was the greatest honor to her life when the real queen, the late queen, Queen Elizabeth II, that is, give her a special award to honor her work. And that is a promise. So there you go. So that was late Queen Elizabeth II, that is, from 1920s, I don't know what year it was in the time, till last year. She was 96 years old. 1926 to 2022. She was 96 years old at the time. And the last page of the book says this. Julie Andrews followed her dreams, going from small village to London, New York, Hollywood, and all over the world. Okay? She worked hard to create unforgettable characters on the screen, books on stage. I never read her books before, but I'll get to that in bedtime stories some other time. Many fans will always be inspired by her talents, and they always love Julie Andrews. And that's how I feel about Julie Andrews to this day. And it has always been the best where it is, where it had to be Julie Andrews. So there you go. So that was Julie Andrews' little golden book of new biography. What did I think about this book? It was amazing. So far, this little good biography was a successful book to read. That was Bedtime Stories episode number 347. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. Next one's going to be I Am Superman. Basically a comic book release and basically a book about, it's based on the careers of Xavier Real, and I'm not sure what will be yet, but we'll just see what happens. Now, my excuse me, I gotta put this down and get this out of the way, and hope that I can mostly get this done as soon as before I finish off recording this and get this out of the way, and then I will record TV and go to bed. Until next time, so Joseph Bobby Baby, you can move this pursue, turns it out. See ya.